The Orlando Magic needed to win desperately. How they got it on Saturday against the San Antonio Spurs seems to put the Magic back on the right track. It's how you respond today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is February 9th, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic find their resolve again and get a big victory over the San Antonio Spurs. We'll talk about what the Magic did on Saturday that's different than what they've done over the last several weeks. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox Monday through Friday. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic Newsletter. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The difference between winning and losing is not as big as it seems. It really isn't. Paolo Banchero has said this a few times over the course of the last week and a half, that all the Magic would need is one game to go their way. One game to turn in their favor, one game to push them over the top and kind of get this thing back moving in the right direction. For him and for, I think, a lot of players on the team, that's all it would take. It's just the feeling of confidence that we've got this. Unfortunately, it's not so easy. You still have to go out there and take games. It doesn't just, the weight gets lifted off your shoulders maybe by a win, but you still got to go out there and perform. And it's really as much about confidence and resolve as anything else. Yes, talent, yes, skill, yes, tactics, all these things matter. But it comes down to, when you get pushed, are you going to push back? Are you going to respond? Over the last several weeks, when the Magic got hit with a big run, they didn't have the response. They didn't make shots to make up for it. They didn't defend well enough to make up for it. When teams hit them, the Magic, for lack of a better way to phrase it, stayed down. The 15-point run, 15-point lead the Warriors built in the third quarter. An extended run that just essentially the Magic had one bad quarter, and that was more or less the game. The Denver Nuggets taking a 9-point lead and expanding it to 28 in the third quarter, and the Magic having no fight or resolve to get back. The loss to the Blazers way back when at home, when the Blazers were the ones to find their rhythm first and bury the Magic in a deficit they really never fought back from. How many times we sit here and talk, the Magic were down 20, and that game in Utah, the Magic were down to last week, the Magic were down 20. They fought to get it back down to 12. Good job, guys. It's about how you respond. In this league, everybody has a run in them. Everybody has a run in them. But the good teams absorb it, limit it, and answer back. The bad teams make it worse. Let those mistakes compound and struggle to get back off the mat. I probably shouldn't have gone 4.5 minutes into this podcast without mentioning Paolo Banchero hit a game-winning shot with 25 seconds to play. And that was as much a statement of this team's resolve on Saturday as anything else that they did. It was a statement of, I'm not going to get pushed around. It was a statement of, yeah, I might have missed some shots. I might have made some mistakes, but that doesn't prevent me from making the right play next time, from making critical and crucial plays. How many times over the last 2 weeks have we seen a player make a mistake and then that mistake compound? We saw it in this game, in fact. Wendell Carter, I thought, had a really nice start to the game. And then he made a mistake. You could see it on his face that he was thinking about that mistake, then made another mistake and another mistake. That's been the way this team has been for the last 2-3 weeks. So what happens when the Magic go down 10 in the first quarter? They fight back. They get some steals. They get some deflections. They find some energy, certainly helped by their home crowd, and get themselves back into the game to lead by 2 at the end of the first quarter. What happens when the Magic go down by 13 to the Spurs in the third quarter? Another bad third quarter where they're outscored 28-24. They're down 13. They're fouling, sending the Spurs to the line. Early bonus. They're not able to hit shots themselves. They miss some opportunities. What happens? Franz Wagner scrambles, makes some late shots in the third quarter, cuts the deficit down to 7. A little bit more manageable. What happens when the Magic finally do tie the game? Finally take the lead back from the Spurs. Get everyone playing well, and then 2 mistakes lead to 2 San Antonio 3-pointers, and they're down by 6 with 3:30 to go. What happens then? Those last 3:30 were not perfect. Paolo Banchero took some bad shots, made a bad turnover. But the next play down, the next few plays down, big pass to Anthony Block for a 3. Bucket. Big pass to Jonathan Isaac for a 3. Yes, bucket. And all of a sudden, the Magic find themselves back in the game, back in this shoving match, back in this back and forth contest that featured 14 lead changes and 12 ties. Orlando did not back down. Even when they made mistakes in critical moments, they didn't let that fester. They got back and they played defense. They got back and they played Magic basketball for the first time in a while. The NBA is indeed about how you respond. It is indeed about how you answer that bell, answer that call, answer when your opponent, when the other team challenges you. And what the Magic may have found on Saturday is that they can still do it. That they can still reach back and find themselves. That they can still make the big defensive plays when they have to. This wasn't the greatest defensive game. They gave up 60 points in the first half. They gave up 111 total. Yeah, they forced only 14 turnovers. Scored 24 points off those turnovers, but they turned it over 15 times. They didn't even win that battle. Orlando had to scrap and claw, and once again, only shot 33% from 3, but they're actually pretty good when they shoot at least that. They had to scrap and claw their way into this game, back into this game, and steal it. They had to take this victory. And sure, I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. The crowd helped. Being at home helped. They don't win this game on the road. Yes, the Spurs looked like they were playing their third game in 4 nights at the end. Victor Wembanyama especially looked gassed and tired. The physicality of the trip and the physicality from the Magic bothering the superstar center. This is always about how you respond. It is always about what happens when the other team pushes you. How do you push back? How do you make them respond? It's a 48-minute game. It is a long, long time. And again, Paolo Banchero is the best example of this. Entering the fourth quarter, he was 3 for 11. It looked like another difficult, frustrating game for him. He finished with 5 turnovers. He had 1 turnover in the fourth quarter. But he turned out and had 9 of his 17 points in the fourth. He ended up shooting 7 for 17 in a pretty decent game. And then, of course, he made all the big plays down the stretch. With Franz Wagner carrying them through to get to the fourth quarter, Paolo stepped up and made the plays down the stretch. Is this a sign of what's to come? Is this a sign of this team righting its ship? We won't know until Monday. Because Paolo believes that it would only take 1 win for this team to get back in the right mindset, in the right mind frame. He believes that they aren't so far away from who they are meant to be and from who they know they can be. But momentum is the next day's pitcher. This good feeling, this warm feeling, this important win to start this 3-game homestand before the All-Star break and this larger stretch of 10 of 11 games, which we'll talk about tomorrow. This was an important win for the Magic. And now it's about doing it again, responding to the win itself. The Magic did not play like this, did not play with this resolve, did not play with this spirit that we know defines them for much of the last 3 weeks. If Saturday brought that back out, the Magic will be fine and still accomplish at least some of their goals. It wasn't just about Paolo, and it wasn't just about Franz, who I should mention had 33 points and was amazing once again in this game. Let's talk about how getting some of these players back has started to shape the Magic into their proper roles. We're going to talk a little bit about that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about the quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. And let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. Look, I've always had issues with underwear, fit, comfort, just finding the right style for me. Bodies change. I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to both lose weight and still struggle a little bit with my weight as well. Skims changed all of that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with perfect balance of comfort and style. If you don't think you're a briefs person, by the way, you're wrong. Try briefs. They're actually pretty good. I've tried the Skims 5-inch boxer brief. I work out a little bit. I'm trying to work out more. I'm trying to just find something that's comforting and not restrictive. And so you think something that's a little tighter would be a little bit more restrictive? You're completely wrong. It really feels like you're wearing nothing, which is kind of what we're looking for from underwear. We all kind of wear it. But Skims Stretcher Box Briefs, it felt like you finally find the missing link. They give me all the movement I need for working out, for walking around, for whatever I'm doing. Plus, they never lose their shape or ride up, which is a big, big thing with boxers. And maybe it's in my head, but I swear, since I started wearing these, my gains have improved too. These are perfect for your active lifestyle. They move with you and never lose their shape. They stay in place all day. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com and Skims stores. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcasts in the survey and select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gift for your Valentine or for yourself, Skims just launched the best Valentine shop ever. Available in sizes for women, men, kids, and even pets. Check it out today at skims.com. Remember to select podcasts and pick our show in the drop-down menu so they know we sent you. So this has been something that I think's been percolating for a little bit. It's kind of been sitting in the background. It's kind of been the quiet part out loud. I said this a bunch during the depths of the rebuild, during the worst parts of the Orlando Magic's rebuild. Teams are not bad necessarily because they don't have talent, and this team has talent. They're usually bad because players are in the wrong roles. They're asked to do more than they're capable of doing. They're asked to be more, to carry a larger weight than they're ready for, or that a winning team can sustain. You're higher up on the scouting report. You're asked to do just a little bit too much, and the defense is able to key in on your weaknesses rather than having an offense or having a team that accentuates your strengths. And so something that I think we've all been anticipating and waiting for is, as this team gets healthy, players will start to slot back into more comfortable and normal roles. Undoubtedly, one of the issues Jamal Mosley has had this year is he's had to piece together rotations on a nightly basis. And look, the end of games is still kind of by committee. Yes, Paolo and Franz are going to finish games, but who they're playing with really depends on who's playing well. On Saturday, it was Anthony Black. We'll get to his game here in a minute. It's about kind of finding the proper roles. Like, we know what Paolo and Franz are capable of, and we could argue and say, like, oh, they need to do this, X, Y, and Z to get Paolo going, and I'll agree with a lot of those points. But it's figuring out where everybody else slots in. Where does, like, Wendell Carter fit in? You know, what's his role as the backup center? Some of it is, you know, obviously him and playing consistently and all that. There is really, though, no player who faces this kind of question more than Anthony Black. And we're going to talk a lot about Anthony Black this week because it's kind of his week. Him and Tristan Da Silva, it's their week. They're going to the Rising Stars game. They're representing the Magic at All-Star Weekend. Anthony Black, to me, is probably the most interesting and important player on the roster. He is someone that is still trying to define himself, but find his place on this team. And one of the big moves that was made over the last week is the Magic opted to start Cole Anthony. And there was a lot of debate about this. You know, do the Magic want to sacrifice Anthony Black's defense for Cole Anthony's offense? What does that do to the bench groups? If Franz played 38 minutes, he's not on a minute restriction anymore. Like, he might be on a minute restriction, but Franz is just like, no, I'm not. And he's not. He played the whole fourth quarter and had to because the Magic couldn't function when he was off the floor. But Anthony Black has been wildly inconsistent offensively, and frankly, wildly inconsistent with his energy at times. He is someone that easily gets kind of lost in the background, kind of lost in the shuffle, where he doesn't always assert himself. And a lot of people say, oh, I wish Anthony Black were more aggressive. Everybody on the team wishes he was more aggressive. And so it's figuring out where he fits. What is his best role? And Jamal Mosley is, for now at least, come to the conclusion that his best role is anchoring that bench group, because he doesn't have to give the ball to Paolo and Franz, who, you know, have usage rates over 30%. They take up a lot of possessions, and there isn't a lot of room for AB to have the ball. Off the bench, though, there is much more room. Off the bench, he gets to be the point guard, whether you believe he can be the point guard or not, and that's going to be one of the debates that we have to have here in the next few months. He gets to kind of pull the strings a little bit more and is kind of pushed and forced to do more. Look, Saturday's game for Anthony Black is one of the hallmark games of his career. 20 points, 8 for 9 shooting, 3 for 3 from 3, had a couple of assists, 1 turnover. He was just scoring. Got to the basket a few times, shot confidently. It's all good. But it's of a piece of how he has played off the bench as much as he has played as a starter. Entering the game, Black coming off the bench averages 9.1 points per game and 3.6 assists per game. He has a 50.8% true shooting percentage and is shooting 7.6 field goal attempts per game with a 19.9% usage rate. As a starter, 9 starts, not a lot. He averages only 8.1 points per game and 2.8 assists per game. Takes a few more field goals at 8.1 per game, probably because he's playing a little bit more, with a 46.1% true shooting percentage. He has a 16.4% usage rate as a starter. Clearly, the numbers would tell you bringing Black off the bench gets him more involved, gets him more energy, and allows you to have nights like this one, where he gains that confidence and gains that aggression. It's been all about, I mean, look, at the end of the day, Jalen Suggs is going to start at guard. And so AV is this team's backup point guard. He works off the bench for this team. And the fact that it works for him is even better. So the question then becomes, how do you get the most of him? How do you get the most of several players on this team? Obviously, being healthy matters. You know, you have to fill out the rotation. You have to shuffle guys around. You have to kind of find it. Cole Anthony works no matter where you put him, it feels like. Defensively is the only concern, but he works no matter where you put him because he's a scorer. He's going to score the ball. You give him the ball, he's going to assert himself. He can fit in that lineup with Paolo and Franz because he's always looking for his own shot. And that's a good thing. The Magic need more players like that, to be perfectly honest. They need more players who want the ball in their hands and are aggressive when they have it. When Jalen Suggs comes back, Cole will go back to the bench and do the same thing. Maybe fewer minutes, but do the same thing. Tristan Da Silva has had the same issues as Anthony Black, where he kind of looks invisible at times, standing on the perimeter next to Paolo and Franz. But he too finds his path. He too finds his way. And he had a decent game. He had one of 2 3-pointers for 3 points, a couple turnovers, just wasn't completely active, but did some good things. The Magic are still, because there's been so much turmoil, because they've only played 6 games with their 3 best players, there has been a lot of turmoil. And players haven't always been able to settle into comfortable roles. But honestly worked about that time right after Paolo got hurt. And yeah, Tristan Da Silva wasn't ready to start, but taking someone who wasn't in the rotation, putting them in the starting lineup, maintained everybody's roles. But losing Mo Wagner, that threw everyone for a loop. Losing Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero, that changed everybody's responsibilities. Losing Jalen Suggs has changed everyone's responsibilities. Now the Magic seem to be settling back in, finding that groove again. And obviously, once their star players hit their peaks, then I think we'll really begin to see this team blossom and see this team reach that rhythm and that peak that they haven't been able to reach all year. Getting players in their proper roles, getting them in their best roles to support this team, that has been the biggest struggle of the season. But the good news is it feels like the Magic are back on the right track. And again, as I said in the last segment, momentum is the next day's pitcher. We'll see what they look like Monday night. Let's go through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the San Antonio Spurs 112-111. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started. And there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Unfortunately, I'm here in Florida, so I can't use FanDuel because of government. But their live betting feature makes it so much fun because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I miss my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Let's run through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the San Antonio Spurs 112-111. A huge victory for the Magic. I don't want to say statement win because that's not quite accurate, but a win the Magic had to have. A win that the Magic needed to get. They're starting this 3-game homestand. Again, I want to talk more about the schedule and why these next now 10 games, but these 11 games, starting with Saturday's game, are so important to the team. I know I've mentioned it. We're going to mention it again. We're going to hammer this home, how important the next 3 weeks are. The Magic, though, like I said, just they played more like themselves. This is the most like themselves they have looked. And, we were talking in the media room after the game, and Mason Williams of Magic on SI kind of said, this win was more important than the Sacramento win because the Sacramento win that's an outlier. We know the Magic aren't going to shoot that well. We know that that's not like that. That was kind of a flash in the pan kind of game. This is a game where the Magic weren't perfect, didn't do everything right, made a lot of mistakes, trailed, and had to fight and claw and scratch their way back. This is more like the way the Magic win. This is more like the way the Magic find ways. They gut things out. They get down. They defend. They make plays when they have to. And they lean on their stars to carry them home. This is the kind of game that does change momentum because it's a close win. It's a big comeback as a test of their resolve. And now you kind of feel like, oh, you have that little, honestly, like so much of the last 3 weeks has been about confidence. You can see it. You can see the lack of confidence. You can see the struggles that everyone's been going through. And so they needed a game where they had to generate their energy, where they had to generate confidence, and they had to find belief. They found belief in this game. A really, 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 really solid game. I'm sorry that I've only mentioned Franz like twice here in 26 minutes. Sorry, Franz. This isn't you. This isn't a Paolo or you thing. You're awesome. Franz Wagner was freaking amazing in this game. 33 points, 14 for 28 shooting, only 2 for 7 from 3. 3 for 6 from the foul line. Only thing I'm going to complain about is he missed his free throws. 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Franz was everywhere. He was carrying this team throughout the entire game. And, when he was out, the Magic struggled. They were plus 21 when he played, which means they were minus 18 when he was off the floor. That's pretty bad. But he did everything Franz usually does. Like early in the game, he tried to challenge Victor Wembanyama, and Wembanyama got him twice. But he did not back down. He kept going at him. He kept finding ways around him. He kept finding ways to attack him, hit floaters over him, just kind of make him work, number one, but still play his game. It was a really brilliant game from Boogie. And Franz just this is like commonplace now. There's no other way to say it. Like I don't think he's all the way back from his injury either, but this is just normal. Like these games are normal for him now. Like if he had not missed 20 games, he's an all-star. Sorry to, I don't know who you take off the list. I don't think you take Tyler Hero off. Probably Pascal Siakam. Sorry to Pascal Siakam. Franz Wagner is an all-star if he didn't get hurt. Like he is that good. Everybody knows he's that good. And he got the team to the finish line. I don't know if he would have been able to help get the team across the finish line because like he looked tired at the end. He made some mistakes, but even then, even when he made a mistake, he missed a shot. He tracked down the rebound and called timeout while falling out of bounds. And that saved the possession that gave the Magic the lead, that gave that Paolo the turnaround fadeaway at the free throw line that gave them the lead. Like, there's a reason Franz is a plus-minus darling. It's because he does a lot of things right on both ends of the floor, and now his scoring is just over the moon. Like, he is just incredible with the ball in his hands, and it's been a true delight to watch him grow. Paolo Banchero continued to struggle a little bit. Like I mentioned, 17 points, 7 of 17 shooting, missed all 4 3-pointers, 3 for 4 from the foul line, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 turnovers. Still some processing issues. I know I mentioned this a lot with him since he came back. A lot of just kind of processing issues. Like he's still trying to read the court. He's still trying to figure out where defenses are coming from. He's not reacting and attacking quickly. So he's allowing defenses to kind of load up on him. But he attacks quickly. He's as unstoppable as anyone, as he's ever been. Like I said, he had 9 of his 17 points in the fourth quarter, made the game-winning shot, made the go-ahead shot with 25 seconds left. He played a very strong fourth quarter. You could see the energy pick up in him. But he's still making some bad decisions. He's still kind of forcing some things. He's not getting to the basket. Like, honestly, the stat that bothers me most is not his field goal percentage. It's that he took only 4 free throws. Since returning, I believe he's only averaging 6 free throws per game. He was up at 8, 9, 10 before. His ability to force his way to the foul line is so key to the Magic being successful on offense. This team is the best team in the league at getting to the foul line. So to go only 12 for 20, a lot of points left on the board. This, if the Magic would have lost this game would have been about missed opportunities, those free throws, and then those mistakes and decision-making mistakes that we're continuing to see. So I don't want to brush those under the rug. I don't want to brush those aside. Paolo stepped up in the fourth quarter. He came up big. And again, like I mentioned earlier, made mistakes, didn't let those linger, kept fighting, kept finding plays, made huge plays. Ended up with a pretty solid game for him. And hopefully, again, beginning to, I think he understands he has to work his All-Star break. He's going to take some time off, I'm sure. But he has to work this All-Star break to continue getting himself back into shape and kind of getting himself back at the rhythm that he was earlier in the season. Maybe we'll talk about this debate soon, but this year it's Franz's team. I hate to say it, but we'll get to that later. Off the bench, Anthony Black, like I mentioned, had 20 points, 8 for 9 shooting, 3 for 3 from the 3-point line. When you're making shots, everything looks good. Everything looked good for Anthony Black. Really, really aggressive, really confident with his shot. He made that first one, and you could just kind of see the light click on. So a good game from him. Jonathan Isaac also had a really nice game. 14 points, 6 for 7 shooting, 2 for 3 from 3. Added 8 rebounds. Isaac continues to be an excellent rebounder. We can criticize Jonathan Isaac for a lot of things this year. His rebounding has been excellent. He's been a really good rebounder, really powerful rebounder. The Magic tried him on Wemby a few times, but he largely played when Wemby was out of the game, but was active everywhere, solid on defense, was able to switch on defense, and made threes. Again, everyone looks better when you make threes. He had 2 guys who are really poor three-point shooters go 5 for 6 from 3, made big shots down the stretch. I think both of Isaac's threes came in the fourth quarter. It's just huge. It's a huge lift because, the 1-3 that Isaac had late in the game, Victor Wembanyama was guarding Isaac, ignored him completely, was totally committed to guarding Paolo Banchero on the drive. Banchero kicked it out to Isaac in the corner. Too far of a closeout even for Wemby. Isaac drained the 3, has to drain that shot. He has to make that shot in a game like this. Not only because of how important it was, but because that you have to make teams pay for overcommitting to Paolo and Paolo's drives. You have to make teams pay. That's been the biggest issue all year, is the Magic just haven't done enough to make those teams pay when they try to pack the paint. That's why you need 3-point shooting. That's why I still think it's important, even if the Magic are missing threes, to take threes. They were 10 for 30 in this game. It wasn't like they took a ton of threes. The Magic, I think, now have like a 16-4 record when they shoot 33% or better from 3. So they don't have to shoot threes even that well. But when you're able to score in the paint like the Magic were tonight, 56 points, 56 to 34 in the paint, 20 second chance points to 6 for the Spurs, 18 fast break points. When you're able to kind of make up those possessions using your defense and using your kind of grit and intensity, you don't need a ton of threes. But the Magic know their formula, and they played that formula well in this game. Some guys who struggled. Goga Bitadze had 2 points, 9 rebounds, did some good things. Obviously, he's got Wembanyama on him, and he had a lot of responsibility on that. I thought that he was a little too far deep in his drop on defense, gave up a lot of kind of around the screen jumpers, probably needed to be a little bit more at the level of the screen. By the end of the game, the Magic were just switching on Wembanyama and just saying, whatever, he's going to shoot over our guys anyway. And the last play of the game, Wembanyama and I believe it was Darren Fox ran a pick and roll. Anthony Black ended up switching it. Isaac's on Fox. Fox ends up giving it to Wembanyama at the free throw line. He kind of sizes Anthony Black up. He's trying to be feisty. Eventually time winds down. Isaac realizes he's not passing the ball. He slides over, helps challenge that shot, and Wembanyama misses it. Wemby did not have a good game. 5 for 11 shooting, 1 for 6 from 3, 7 for 8 from the foul line, 9 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 blocks, 4 turnovers for 18 points. He looked gassed. I know San Antonio's third game in 4 nights on a back-to-back. He looked really, really tired. And you could just feel that fatigue. Again, it's part of the game. The Magic had it too, coming back from the West Coast. That first game back from the West Coast is always difficult. You don't use it as an excuse, but you recognize it as a reality. And the Magic will take every win they can get. They're going to have some rest advantage games coming up here. But it's, that's part of the challenge, and that's part of what you have to overcome. And again, the Magic were able to overcome their issues and their problems in this game. Wendell Carter, I want to mention him too. I thought he had a really good first quarter. He had 7 points, 2 for 7 shooting, over 2 from 3, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. I thought he was playing really, really well. He missed a shot. Could see him get down. Fouled on a play. You could see him get down. He was playing fine, but then he let mistakes accumulate. And that's what I was talking about earlier, is you can't let one mistake become 2, become 3, become 4, because you're thinking about the mistake. And, I looked at Wendell's face and you could just see his frustration written on his face, that he was not happy with how he played. And so he let those mistakes compound. And that's the part that he has to work to get out of his game. That's the part the Magic have to work to get out of his game. He ended up playing only 11 minutes in this game. He just wasn't effective enough, even though I thought he got off to a good start. I thought he defended really well. I thought he fought and played hard. He had a couple of nice dunks. He was active around the basket, doing things that he doesn't normally do. I was like, oh, we're in for a good Wendell game. He's been playing well lately. And then he just kind of let mistakes compound on him, and he struggled to recover from that. So in the end, a rough game for Wendell Carter. He's been playing well. We'll hopefully see him bounce back against the Hawks on Monday. The Orlando Magic end up shooting 51.1% from floor, 10 for 30 from 3. They have 13 offensive rebounds, like I said, for 20 second chance points. A really good job there. They do turn the ball over 15 times for 26 points, even though the Spurs shot better at 53.2%. Even though the Spurs shot more threes, they were 13 for 30 from 3. The Spurs only get 4 offensive rebounds. Magic do a good job on the glass. The Magic turned them over 14 times for 24 points. One of the problems of late has been the Magic not converting off of turnovers, even though the Spurs won points off turnovers. Orlando was able to convert off those mistakes. That was a big part of this game. It was a big part late in the game too. And the Magic, just again, willed themselves to victory. They made one more play, one more shot than the Spurs did. And that makes the game feel completely different than if they hadn't. That's the way this league goes, and hopefully that is a momentum-building moment for the Magic. The Orlando Magic defeat the San Antonio Spurs 112-111. They're back in action Monday against the Atlanta Hawks. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google, Spotify, Odyssey, and all Film Me Sit on podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to me, be sure to go check out the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll talk a little bit about why these next 11 games are so important for the Orlando Magic and where the Magic are in the standings on a Super Bowl Sunday. We'll get to that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. I'll be recording after Super Bowl, so do not worry about it. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.